There comes a moment in every life where silence grows louder than noise. A moment when the world around you dims just enough for you to hear the war within. It doesn't come with fireworks or grand announcements. No spotlight. No cheering crowd. Just you. And that still, aching question burning beneath your ribs. Do I dare to believe in the dream? Or do I retreat into doubt once more? This is the crossroads. And make no mistake, it's not marked with signs or maps. It's carved in scars, in sleepless nights, in unanswered prayers, and unfinished journals. It's hidden in the shadow of your hesitation. But it's here, now, waiting for you to decide. Because the truth is, every dream starves or thrives depending on what you feed it. Feed your fears, and they'll grow into walls. Feed your doubts, and they'll dress as logic and whisper reasons why you're not ready. But feed the dream, truly nourish it, and the impossible begins to fracture. Think of Thomas Edison. 10,000 failures were not proof of defeat to him. They were food for invention. Every setback was a meal for the mind, a lesson swallowed whole. Because he understood what few ever do, that doubt only has power when it's fed. Starve it, and your faith becomes ferocious. Faith isn't a whisper. It's a roar in the dark. It's the kind of fire that men like Carnegie carried when no one believed in steel but him. It's the unshakable belief that though the world may not yet see the path, you will walk it anyway. But you must understand, your mind is a garden, and thoughts are seeds. Every day, you choose what you cultivate. Doubt grows quickly. It's easy, wild, chaotic. It demands no discipline. But dreams? Dreams require care. They demand sunlight in the form of clarity, water in the form of action, and deep roots in the form of purpose. The modern world is drowning in distractions. Every scroll, every swipe, every ding and ping is feeding doubt in disguise, because it pulls your attention away from your vision. And attention, my friend, is currency. Where you spend it is where your future grows. So you must reclaim it. Guard your focus like gold, because it is. Clarity begins with silence. Not the absence of noise, but the presence of stillness. Can you sit with your ambition long enough to hear what it truly wants? Can you strip away the expectations, the comparisons, the masks, and ask, what would I pursue if I feared nothing? Because that's the real you speaking. The one who remembers the child who dreamed before the world taught you to shrink. The one who looked at stars and didn't see distance, only direction. To feed the dream, you must return to that voice. And yet, clarity without belief is powerless. You must believe, even when evidence is absent. Especially then. Because every legend you admire, Walt Disney building theme parks in his head while the bank laughed at him, or Lincoln standing firm while the Union crumbled, they did not have certainty. They had belief. And belief bends reality. Belief is not just positive thinking, it is spiritual commitment. It is the soul screaming, even if no one comes with me, I will still go. When doubt says, what if you fail? Belief replies, what if I fly? You see, the mind, when properly directed, is not a mirror of the world. It is a mold for it. And vision is the hand that shapes it. But vision alone means nothing without discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your current reality and your highest potential. It is the decision to show up when no one's watching. The choice to act when inspiration is absent. It's the thousands of invisible repetitions that the world never applauds. But success is built on what no one sees. Henry Ford did not wait for applause. He built machines when others were still riding horses. Because he knew something essential, dreams do not wait for permission. They require precision. They require obsession. They require work every single day. But here's what doubt won't tell you. You do not have to see the full staircase to take the first step. You do not have to be fearless. You just have to be faithful. Faithful to your potential. Faithful to your calling. Faithful to the fire that never truly dies, only dims when ignored. So starve the doubt. Do not feed it with excuses dressed as responsibilities. Do not nourish it with company that coddles your comfort. Do not give it life by replaying the past. Feed the dream instead. Feed it with mornings that begin in silence and intent. Feed it with late nights of practice when the world is asleep. Feed it with books, with questions, with relentless curiosity. Feed it with people who remind you who you are, not who you used to be. Because the dream is alive, and the more you feed it, the louder it gets, the more undeniable it becomes. And once it becomes undeniable, you become unstoppable. Every great revolution, internal or external, begins with a single act of defiance, the refusal to settle. That quiet rebellion against mediocrity. That internal scream that says, "This is not the life I was born to live." It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It needs conviction. And from that conviction, discipline is born, not the discipline of the masses, but the discipline of the few. The warriors. The builders. The architects of destiny. You don't need more motivation. You need direction. You need to declare war on the version of yourself that keeps playing small. You need to wake up every day, not asking the world for validation, but asking yourself one thing. Am I feeding the dream today, or am I feeding the doubt? Because every choice is a vote. Every action is a declaration. Every morning you rise with intention, you tilt the scales. And soon, the balance shifts. Slowly, then suddenly. The voice that once trembled now commands. The steps that once hesitated now march. The man who once hoped now builds. Look at every titan of history, and you'll find this pattern. Abraham Lincoln, drowning in failure and rejection, still walked toward the White House because the dream was bigger than the shame. He fed it with relentless learning, with solitude, with silent nights of reading by candlelight. And when doubt came, as it always does, he starved it with purpose. And you, yes, you are no different. You were not designed to live an ordinary life. You were crafted by the same hands that carved mountains and oceans. So why settle for inches when you were born for miles? Purpose is not found. It's forged. In fire. In failure. In the furnace of repetition and solitude. You must earn it, not by waiting for signs, but by becoming one. When the world says, "Be realistic," you must ask, whose reality am I subscribing to? Because realistic for whom? For the man who said humans would never fly before the Wright brothers carved wings out of wood and wind? For the woman who was told a black seamstress could never start a movement before Rosa Parks sat down and stood up for millions? Realistic is a prison built by other people's fears. Smash the lock. You are not here to obey doubt. You are here to dominate it. But dominance requires action, not random bursts, not occasional inspiration. Strategic, surgical action, daily, deliberate, and demanding. Action that scares you. Action that stretches you. Action that says, "I'm done negotiating with fear." Because fear will never leave. It is your shadow. But action teaches you to walk in light anyway. Understand this. Clarity without action is fantasy. Belief without movement is empty. You must move, even when it's messy. Especially then. Progress is not linear. It's jagged. It's bloody knuckles and broken plans and days where everything feels like it's falling apart, right before the breakthrough. The dream will not always feel good, but it will always feel right. Because every time you rise when you want to quit, you reinforce identity. You stop being a person with a dream and become a person of action. And the world bows to people of action. It doesn't mean the path will be easy. It means it will be worthy. It means learning will become your ally. You will fail. Often. And that's how it should be. Because failure, when used properly, is fuel. It is data. It is divine direction. Every time you stumble, you're being sculpted. Every no is sharpening your yes. Look at Colonel Sanders, rejected over 1,000 times before someone finally said yes to his recipe. 1,000 doors slammed in his face. And every time, he knocked again. He didn't ask, "Am I good enough?" He asked, "Am I willing enough?" You don't need to be the best right now. You need to be the most willing. Willing to keep moving. Willing to be misunderstood. Willing to look foolish. Willing to work in the dark while others sleep in the light. Because one day, yes, one day the light will be yours. But only if you keep going. So feed the dream with effort. Feed it with sweat. Feed it with mornings where you rise before your fears and nights where you silence your limits with action. And when you hear that voice, because you will, that one that whispers, "Who are you to think you can do this?" You smile. And you whisper back, "I am the one who starved the doubt. And I fed the dream until it fed me back." There is a kind of power that doesn't scream. It doesn't posture. It doesn't need to be seen to be real. It lives in the quiet commitment. The silent promise made in the mirror when no one's watching. I will not quit. I will not fold. I will not feed the doubt, not today. Not ever again. Because once you've made that decision, truly made it, not just said it, you become dangerous to your limitations. You become a threat to the very systems of average. You become a rebel against complacency. Because now you're not waiting. You're working. Now you're not wishing. You're walking. And in that walk, in that forward motion, you start to build something far greater than success. You begin to build self-respect. See, self-respect isn't born from applause. It's born in resistance, resistance to comfort, to excuses, to the smallness that once felt safe. It is built every time you wake up and say no to the doubt that wants you to hit snooze. It is built in the moment you turn pain into process. It is built in the way you treat your dream like oxygen, not an option. Because when you treat your dream like it's optional, life will treat you the same. But when you guard it like a flame in the middle of a storm, when you shield it from the winds of opinion, when you nurture it even when it flickers and fades, you become the fire. And no storm can stop a wildfire that started within. Let the world throw its doubts at you. Let them laugh. Let them dismiss you, diminish you, mislabel you. That's the price of dreaming with your eyes open. But remember, every giant was once a ghost. Every icon was once invisible. Every name they celebrate was once a nobody practicing in silence while the world ignored them. They didn't wait for the perfect timing. They built their own clocks. They didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. And when it hurt, they kept building. When it failed, they kept rising. When it felt impossible, they kept feeding the dream. Because they knew, the dream becomes your identity when you stop negotiating with doubt. So don't just dabble in your dream, devour it. Don't flirt with your future, fight for it. Don't visit the vision, live inside it. And when the struggle knocks, and it will, answer the door with gratitude. Because pain is not your enemy. It is your ally disguised in discomfort. It shows you what still needs growth. It reveals the weak points that require reinforcement. It strips away the illusion that this would be easy and replaces it with the revelation that this will be worth it. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a sculptor of them. And yes, the chisel is heavy. The marble is resistant. But every strike, every disciplined day, every sacrificed comfort, every uncelebrated victory is shaping something divine. You are crafting a life that others will one day call impossible. But you will know it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was made from the bones of broken plans and the blood of relentless effort. It was made because you made a decision to starve the doubt and feed the dream. And here's the truth most won't tell you. You only have to do it one day at a time. You don't have to conquer the whole mountain in a moment. You just have to keep climbing. Keep breathing. Keep moving. Feed the dream with one more step, one more hour, one more rep, one more page, one more shot. And suddenly, you're no longer dreaming the life, you're living it. And that's when the world begins to notice. Not because you asked it to, but because you became undeniable. There is a sacred transformation that happens when you become undeniable. You don't need to convince anyone anymore. You don't need to chase affirmation or hunt for applause. Because your life, your work, your energy, your presence, it speaks for itself. That is the reward of persistence. Not the medals, not the followers, not the trophies, but the mirror. The man or woman staring back at you, forged in fire, fearless in faith, no longer flinching at resistance but fed by it. You now walk with something unteachable, certainty. Not arrogance, not noise, but the grounded, storm-proof certainty that no matter what happens, you don't break. You build. Because you've been through enough to know. Doubt is loudest when you're closest to your breakthrough. And fear screams loudest before it surrenders. That's why you must keep going. Because somewhere on the other side of your consistency, someone is waiting for what only you can create. Somewhere, a life is about to change because you refuse to fold. You don't see them now. They don't know your name yet. But they're coming. And when they arrive, when your light becomes their lighthouse, when your fight becomes their fire, you'll realize. The dream was never just for you. It was planted in you, but meant for the world. That's why quitting is theft. Not just of your potential, but of the lives your courage was meant to touch. Every time you choose to rise, when it's hard, when it's heavy, when it would be so much easier to step back, you reclaim territory from fear. You are not just chasing success. You are setting a standard. You are not just building a life. You are building a legacy. Think about Martin Luther King Jr., a man who had every reason to doubt. Threats, isolation, fatigue beyond measure. But he kept showing up, not for recognition, not for reward, but because he had a dream. And that dream became a movement, because he fed it, even when it hurt, even when it cost him everything. So what are you feeding? Are you feeding the excuses? The past? The versions of you that were never meant to survive? Or are you feeding the vision, the calling, the voice deep in your bones that says, there is more for you than this? That voice is truth, and doubt is distortion. It's smoke in the mind, fog in the gut. It's not fact. It's fiction told often enough to feel real. But now you see through it. Now you've named it. Now you understand. What you feed grows. So let's get practical. Let's get brutal. Let's get honest. If your days are filled with people who settle, you will settle. If your hours are filled with distractions and numbing, you will numb the very dream trying to wake you. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, lack, regret, comparison, you will become the echo of someone else's failure. But if you fill your mind with vision, if you fill your space with hunger, if you fill your habits with intensity, clarity, and commitment, you will grow into a force this world cannot ignore. The dream is already inside you. It's waiting, not for a perfect plan, not for a better economy, not for a savior or shortcut, but for you, fully awakened, fully aligned, fully accountable. You don't need more time. You need more intensity, more devotion to your calling, more refusal to let this day pass without progress, more fierce gratitude that you get to try again, that you still have the chance to rise. Because you do. And while others waste the day waiting for signs, you are becoming one. Let them sleep. Let them scroll. Let them scoff. You've made your choice. You will starve the doubt. You will feed the dream. You will not stop. You will not slow. Because this dream is not just yours, it's your duty. And you will carry it until the world can no longer ignore what you've built in silence. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when you realize something's changed. You're not who you used to be. The weight you once ran from, you now carry with honor. The fears that once paralyzed you, you now walk beside them, unmoved. The doubt that used to speak so loud, it whispers now, and you barely hear it. Because you've become someone different. Someone forged, not found. Someone who didn't wait for confidence, but built it through discipline. Someone who didn't wait to be chosen, but rose and chose themselves. This is what it means to live awakened. Not just to have a dream, but to be possessed by it, to breathe it, bleed for it, to let it consume everything that no longer serves your future, and to build, every day, not just what you want, but who you are becoming. Because what you build in yourself becomes your legacy. That's what they never told you. It was never just about the cars, the accolades, the money. Those things, they come and go. But the man you become, the woman you become, that is the empire. That is the prize. Because when you finally break through, when the world finally sees what you've seen all along, they'll think it was overnight. They'll call it talent. They'll call it timing. They'll try to name it something easy to digest. But you'll know the truth. It was early mornings and late nights. It was quiet sacrifice and loud failure. It was one more rep when your muscles begged to stop. One more call when your pride said quit. One more hour when everyone else was watching the clock. It was 1,000 unseen acts of discipline that built the visible breakthrough. That's how dreams work. They bloom underground, in silence, in obscurity, before they ever rise in the light. So if you're still in the dark, keep going. If no one sees you yet, keep building. If you feel tired, stretched thin, tested beyond what you thought possible, good. That means you're close. Because pressure only builds where there is potential, and pressure, sustained, creates power. You were never meant to live lukewarm. You were never meant to walk this life numb. You were made to burn with something eternal. You were made to carry something no one else can. That's why your dream chose you. Not them. Not the doubters. Not the critics. You. Because it knew. You could handle it. You could carry it through storm and scarcity. You could feed it when everything else said starve. You could believe when belief felt insane. And now, you've come too far to turn back. Too much has been paid in silence for you to settle now. So plant your feet. This is the moment you say it louder than ever. I will starve the doubt. I will feed the dream. Not for a week. Not for a phase. But for life. Because this dream is my birthright. And I will either die feeding it, or I will live to see it feed the world. But I will never, ever starve it again. This is the vow, the line in the sand, the final breath before the breakthrough, the final step before the summit. So take it, climb, fight, build, believe, and never stop, because the dream is alive. And now so are you.